All right, boys and girls, it is so good to see you all. Welcome to Coffee to You and Me, our weekly coaching session where we help entrepreneurs, business leaders, sales professionals, business professionals of all types really learn what they need to learn to become magical at whatever it is that they do. If it's networking, if it's marketing your business, if it's doing whatever you do, we're going to find out how to teach you all the tools and make all the things happen that you need to have happen. Today's broadcast is being brought to you live on YouTube and on Facebook, meaning you could dial in and look at us from any direction, any place you want, and we're going to be able to do that. Now, you're also going to be able to participate in the chat. So if you have any questions, make sure you put that information in the chat. Let us know. In fact, we'll test some of this out as you come into the room, guys. Let me know where you're coming from, what area of the country you're from, what your name is. If there's a business information that you want to post in the chat, go ahead and do that. If you look at our guests, they've already done that. I've already got, Morgan, Ron, Chanel, and Harlan. They're already loaded up. So if you want to find out more about our guests, go ahead and hit the links that they have here in the chat. It's going to be pretty useful information for you. I highly endorse every single one of them. Today's panel is probably the best panel I've ever recruited, and I've been doing the show now live every week since COVID-19 started. We're talking about more than a year and a half now, and this is by far the best panel we've ever had. So I'm so proud to have them here. I'm gonna put a lot of work into organizing them and getting them together. They're all smart and they're sharp, and they look good too, man. It's pretty. Wait till you see them. You're gonna be amazed. You're gonna be amazed. They actually look like normal human beings, not like typical business people. You know how business people can look, right? So we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great program, a great show today. I want lots of interaction, lots of questions. Don't feel like you have to hold anything back. If you have an idea, a thought, whatever, a big idea, put it in the chat. If it's something that I think is going to be useful or useful for everybody, I'll go ahead and post it so that everybody can see. My boy David's in the audience, so good to see you guys. David is one of the best at creating graphics and things for websites and helping create initial websites for small businesses that I've seen. He's a really good guy. David, go ahead and put your information in the chat so people can get in contact with you. And I got lots of friends that are going to be logging on, I know, throughout the day. So this is going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to really, really bringing some of the energy and the effort that we put together. For those of you who know, we've been going through the series of TrueVOICE. And TrueVOICE is a program that I developed years ago. And really, I developed TrueVOICE for one single solitary reason. I realized that no matter what I taught people about how to develop relationships, they had to get into the relationships before they could do anything with them. So if you're going to leverage a relationship, you have to actually have the relationship before you leverage it. And TrueVOICE is a way to initially start off a relationship in a way that you can immediately get to that leverage point. And it's also a way for people that you think you have a good relationship with to take the relationship to the next level so that, again, you have something to leverage. I suggest for those of you who are participating in the TrueVOICE program, go ahead and do the TrueVOICE for yourself. Do it as an assessment for yourself before you go out and interview anybody else. Get yourself used to answering and articulating the answers to the questions that are there. And you'll find that when people ask you what you do, you won't do the thing that everybody does, right? Start with your name and your title as if that matters. It doesn't matter, and no one cares. When they ask you what you do, they're asking you what you do. They're not asking you what the name of your company is. They're not asking you what your name is or what your title is. They're asking you to let them understand what it is that you do. And when you're smart, not only can you describe what you do exceptionally well, you can do it in such a way so they go, oh my God, I want to play with you. I want to participate. I want to be in the same room with you. I want to understand where you're coming from, and I want to understand where I want to go where you're going, right? That's what you want to have happen when you introduce yourself, when you talk to people, when you create an atmosphere that's going to be useful for people. And I promise you, our panelists today are outstanding, and you're going to enjoy working with them. We're working with the last element of TrueVOICE today. And the last element of TrueVOICE is dealing with the environment. Now, understand your environment is going to be vast, right? There's a lot that affects your environment, but we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about as much as we possibly can. We're going to get our panel rocking and rolling in just a few minutes. For those of you who know, I like to take a break right now. I want to show you a quick little commercial about Coach Powell and what we're doing. And this is my little branding thing that actually Dave created this for me. So I'm glad he's on the show today. But check this out and take a break, and we'll come right back in a few seconds. See, the gears are grinding, and we are about the business of being about the business. It's time to get things started. This show is one of, I don't even know what show number we're on, but I've been doing this so long, and I have to say, people ask me all the time, why do you do Coffee to You and Me? Why do you care so much about the business community? Why do you put so much effort into bringing them top talent and bringing them information and education? And I have to say, it's really because of my years as a financial advisor. I learned what not to do for entrepreneurs, and I couldn't serve them because I was stuck in the financial advisor role. I was stuck in the fiduciary role. All I could talk to them about was their money and how they were investing their money and how they were putting their money away. And there was so much more that I'd learned in terms of managing and producing and creating opportunities for businesses. And so I started just sitting down at the coffee shop every Friday and talking to entrepreneurs and business leaders. And it blossomed into this. Now, thanks to COVID, we are nationwide. I'm not sitting in the Panera Bread by myself anymore. I'm working with, thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. And it's a wonderful opportunity for me. But I grow as a coach, as a business professional, consultant, whatever you want to call me. I grow every time I get a chance to interact and engage. And I used to do something at the live session when we were in the coffee shops, and I would make sure that everybody who came to the table had a question. It didn't matter what the question is. And I want you to have a question. So think about that, because when you have questions that you want resolution and concepts and ideas around, it makes a big difference to how you engage and how well others engage with you. Questions are magnificent. In fact, if you look at the TrueVOICE profile, let me post that in here while we're going. My wife just passed me a note and told me to slow down. So I definitely appreciate that. She probably can hear me because I do get excited about what we're doing here. And let me come back. Here we go. I got that. This is the TrueVOICE profile for those of you all who are looking. That's on my Google Drive, and you could use it. Do whatever you want to do. Those of you in the listening audience, go ahead and take a look at that, download it, keep it for yourself, put it on your own file. And the last question, we've gone through all the questions in TrueVOICE up to now. The last question has to do with the environment. And there's two questions that are right there, for you to understand. And our panelists are going to help us to deal with those questions as well. But I want you to start thinking about them right now. Question number 13 is, what are the larger components of your life that have an effect on how you make decisions? Those environmental components, those social, political, economic, and natural components of your life that have an effect on your decisions. Think about that. And number 14, what changes have to be made to your current environment to facilitate the movement that you need to make on your objectives? So if anything that's challenging you, what are the changes that you need to make, that you can make to the current environment? What can you do socially better than you're doing right now? What can you do politically better than you're doing right now? What can you do economically, and what can you do from a natural resources point of view to protect, defend, promote, and grow in your world? This is a very, very important conversation. This is very, very important information. And we're going to talk a lot about the environment a little later on, the various types of environments. And while we're doing that, I want to make sure that if you've looked at this on LinkedIn, there's a poll there. And if you look at the poll for the event of today's event, and I might see if I can't post that. The poll itself is a great opportunity for you all to chime in to where you think you are and what do you think you have to deal with? Now, I know a lot of you are going to be watching this online later on, so I want to make sure that you have this link, and this is the link to the poll, or actually a link to the event, but that will take you to the poll as well. And so if you want to take a look at that, go right ahead and take a look at that. It's now posted on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And there's a poll inside of the event announcement, so to speak. So if you could check it out, that'd be great. And participate in the chat. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep this going as long as we possibly can. And I want to start now introducing our team. I'm going to call them a power team, because I don't want to call them panelists, because they are so much more exciting than just your boring set of panel members. This is the power team. These individuals all represent some form or faction of business, and as they come on, I'm going to introduce them to you. Please, check them out on LinkedIn, check out their social media profiles, whatever contact information they gave you. Please feel free to reach out to them. They didn't give you that information because they want you to ignore it and act like, because they're not standoffish people. They're really wonderful people. And I'm going to start the show off with Morgan. I met Morgan recently, and she's just a super driver. She's one of these people that, she runs networking organization, a wonderful networking organization that I'm sure I'm going to let her tell you about. But it's one of the most powerful networking organizations I've had a chance to see. And that says a lot, because I am a master networker. I teach networking. I teach people how to do it, the science, the art. I teach people how to create the networking, personal networking programs that work for them, no matter where they are, whether they go to conferences or they find themselves in a social setting, they're at a boat, yacht excursion, or any kind of polo grounds, or whatever you're doing. You should be masterful in that environment. And the way you do that is by learning the steps and techniques you need to learn to become a great networker. If anybody's interested in getting my free program called The 9 Steps to Masterful Professional Relationships, just ask. All you have to do is ask in the chat. I'll definitely make sure I link it up and get it to you. It's a wonderful program. And it's for people like Morgan and her organization, really to make sure that their members are being active, engaged, and doing everything they need to be effective for one another, instead of just sitting around going, my name is blah, 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 blah. I do blah, 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 blah. Can you help me with blah, 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 blah? That's a horrible way to network. You can't, again, like I said earlier, you cannot leverage a relationship that you don't have. And so you have to learn that there's various aspects and various techniques that you can use to grow your network. And you can learn in Morgan's group really, really well. She's an amazing, masterful person. She's right here in the Washington metropolitan area. We're glad to have her. And she's going to tell us all about her organization. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Morgan Giovannucci.
Thank you so much. You're very good at saying my last name. Most people do not even attempt it, and I'm just Morgan G. So thank you, Marvin, for having me today. I can tell already that I'm going to learn so much from you. Again, my name is Morgan Giovannucci, and I'm the regional director of an organization called ProVisors, and I cover the DC metro region. ProVisors started in 1988 as a select group of top senior level trusted advisors in the Los Angeles business community, from attorneys to bankers to CPAs to financial services professionals, of which happen to make up the 4 cornerstones of our membership now. Fast forward 33 years to 2021, now ProVisors is a national organization with over 7,200 plus members in major cities throughout the country, with expansion ongoing and planned across the United States. Our premise when we began was to create a platform for senior level professionals to leverage relationships without blatantly just selling ourselves to each other. No one likes the solicitation. We don't want to be signed up for 1 million newsletters, that kind of thing. So out of this vision, we evolved a system and a support organization founded on principles of reciprocity and the know, like, trust, refer motto, which I know is very popular with Marvin. I love what I do so much. Our members are our best cheerleaders, and I look up to every single one of them. That's a very big reason why I'm so thankful to be a part of ProVisors and such a cheerleader for them as well, is because I'm looking to grow my network as well. I live for it, just like Marvin. So I'd like to meet all of you as well. So thank you so much. Again, Morgan Giovanucci, Regional Director of an organization called TrueVOICE in the DC metro region. Thank you so much.
So Morgan, you and I have some things in common. I know it doesn't look like it, sight unseen, but Morgan's also, a favorite native of what state again, Morgan?
Ohio.
That's right. Oh, hi. Oh, I don't know how to do that thing right, but that's just, it's so exciting. I love my Midwesterners, and we have a great time because we're just nice people, just wonderful, nice people. And so when you're dealing with Morgan, you're always going to get a smile. You're always going to get, the truth. By the way, she'll tell you the truth. She'll tell you nicely, but she'll tell you the truth, which is a good thing, right? So it's great to have you on the show, Morgan. Thank you so very much. And again, take advantage of the links here that Morgan has, and she's going to be able to share everything with you guys that she needs to share. I don't know what's going on with the feed right now, having some freaky stuff going on. Do me a favor backstage. Can you hear? Did you all hear Morgan okay? Just shake your head yes or no. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Chanel and Ron. Okay, maybe they can't hear me. We'll see what's going on. I'm going to.
That's good.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that Morgan can be here. I don't care if they don't hear me. As long as they can hear Morgan and see Morgan, we're good to go. Okay, so we're going to bring our next guest up, and it's going to be Chanel. Let me tell you about Chanel. Chanel is a coach's coach. She hangs out with coaches. She helps coaches help them. And so that's a great thing for me because I need all the help I can get. And when you have a person who has that master coaching personality, not only do they know a lot about everything, but they know how to be supportive. And that's tremendously important and powerful in the coaching industry. Our job is to bring people forward, is to make sure they have the tools, the techniques, the strategy to bring them forward. I tell people there's 5 things you could do with people. You could be a therapist. You could be a consultant. You could be an advisor. You could be a friend, or you can be a coach. Now, the coach is the only one who's going to check you out, look at you, see what you're doing well, see what you're doing not so well, help you make the adjustments where you need to make the adjustments so that you can increase your performance. That is what it's all about. And I'm about to bring a master to you right now. Miss Chanel Evans has been in the business for years. She's right here in Woodbridge, Virginia. She's amazingly talented, amazingly gifted. I want you to give her all your attention and all your love. And let's make sure that we welcome her well. Welcome to the party, Chanel.
I'm here in the party. Thanks for having me. I'm here in the party. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Marvin.
So tell us all about you, Chanel.
Yeah. So thanks for having me. And you are correct. I had a lot of time working with business coaches and experts, consultants, and help them grow their business, grow their visibility, and reach their ideal client, leveraging social media. So I'm extremely passionate about working with small business and working with coaches to help them create engaging social media strategies, converting social media strategies to be able to bring in additional clients into their business. So I work with clients and help them develop a custom approach so that they are in the face of their audience. I help them come up with visibility plans to be able to turn their social media into an ATM machine. As a business owner myself, I have leveraged social media to be able to build up not only my own businesses, but also helping other clients build up their businesses to multiple 6 and 7 figures. And just excited to be able to work with other women and coaches to be able to do the same. So I work with clients in a number of different ways, well, primarily 3 ways. I work with women that are in the process of launching a new coaching program or a new service, and they want to be able to leverage social media to do that. So we'll partner and create some custom launch plans for them. I work with women that are in the process of building and scaling their business and recognize that they don't have the time to be able to be on social media. So all full service monthly packages. And then my most recent launch is my social media content domination retreat. It's a hybrid program where I work with women coaches that are swamped in doing amazing things, but they need to basically be locked away for a couple of days to be able to generate over 6 months worth of content in less than 6 days. So definitely looking forward to just connecting, but learning also from you, Marvin, how we actually put all of these pieces in place so that women can be able to leverage their social media, but doing it in a fun, authentic way. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So great to have you right here in Woodbridge.
Yeah.
Now I know I can reach out and touch you.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
I'm here in Centerville, which is not too far away.
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
So I'm going to bring up another local who is, well, actually, no, he's not. Harlan is coming from down south. And so he's a media expert. And one of the things I love about Harlan is, he keeps it real. He's also a native of New York City. He spent some time. Well, actually, he comes from New York City. I spent time in New York City. So, he's from the city. I happen to be escaped from the city. But we talk a lot about, what's life like, what life is like in New York City, and how the difference you have to deal with, and professionalism coming from the northeast part of the country to any other part of the country. You're going to find that pace is a little slower. People might be a little nicer, but people are nice in New York City. You just have to know what you want. Which is where I remember Harlan and I talked about that not too long ago. It's like when, you can bump into New Yorker, you can do whatever you want to do. It's not a problem, but don't be slow about it. Get to the point that you're trying to make and get to it fast. And they won't consider it a waste of time. In fact, it was one of the few places, I remember telling somebody, if I want their attention, I could just say, hey, listen, don't be stupid. Pay attention to this. And they go, oh, really? Okay, now I'm going to pay attention. Anywhere else in the country, it just wouldn't fly. It just wouldn't fly. So I'm going to bring Harlan up and let Harlan tell you all about his marketing programs, his video programs. He's an excellent videographer. He can tell you, how to situate your camera, how to look good, how to make sure your video presentation and yourself is promoted well using the wonderful tools of video. I took a class in it the other day, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave this to the professionals, because a guy like me doesn't need to be worried about this kind of stuff. I don't have the time, the effort, the inclination. I just need to know enough about it to refer to Harlan. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, greetings, everyone. Marvin, I want to fix the statement for a little, what you said early on. I'm from the greatest city on earth, the concrete jungle, New York City. Apologies, everyone. We New Yorkers, we gotta be prideful. We gotta talk about our city nonetheless.
You gotta represent correct, right?
Definitely. So shout out to all my New Yorkers that's here and on the call here. My name is Harlan Dominique, and as Marvin said, I specialize in videography, in the sense of video marketing. My company is called Meacham Media Marketing Production. It's named after the great Oscar Meacham. If you guys know who he is, I would actually tell you guys to actually do your research in regards to who Oscar Meacham is. He's actually a pioneer in the Black entertainment space. It wouldn't be any Tyler Perry, no Spike Lee, no Lee Daniels if it wasn't for this guy. And what we did, we wanted to honor that name and honor what he did, because he's the spark in regards to Black entertainment, or honestly entertainment in general, because his production and his videography and how he became approached as far as movies was very a pioneer at that time. So what we do here in Meacham Media Marketing, we focus on the art of storytelling. Now, I know everyone here is on social media. We consume video every single day, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and such. So we know the importance of it. And I'm not necessarily here to lecture you guys in regards to how important it is, but what we do is different than other people that we focus on a documentary approach. Reason being is that a video can provide an experience and also provide a moment, and that moment can also provide a memory. We tend to say here that a picture says 1,000 words, but video tends to tell you exactly what it is. So once again, my name is Han Dominique.
Fantastic. That is so wonderful. It's so good to see you, Harlan. Thank you so very much for coming. I'm going to bring on the rest of the panelists as we have our discussion. And they're going to participate in any questions, by the way, you have for our panelists. Make sure you put that information in the chat. Make sure you put it in their messaging me private chat as well, which is great. I will be able to see your message, and if it's something that I think everybody needs to participate in and play with, I'm going to put it on the screen. So we're going to start the questions off and start the ideas off with a couple questions. We know that our environment is something that is meaningful to all of us. Our political environment, our social environment, our natural environment, our economic environment, all of these, the four aspects of our environment are things that happen to us, they happen with us, and we are participants in it collectively. There's no getting out of participation in any one of these environments, no matter what our orientation is. You know what? I didn't introduce Ron. I'm kicking you guys out of the studio. Get out of here.
I just figured everyone must know who I am, so I need no introduction, right?
Oh my God, Ron. I'm so glad that somebody reminded me. I
was going to put a question in the chat. Who is Ron Moore? But
Ron, I'm so sorry. I'm losing my mind because I'm running ahead of things. As usual, I'm running ahead of myself. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you brought by. I met Ron a couple weeks ago, and he's been involved with the Roundtable, which is an organization I run here in the Washington metropolitan area. It's another networking style type of organization, but we're more of a networking, learning, and development organization. So we teach people how to network more than we give them opportunities to network. And then we help them create the teams they need to create so they can go off and do this without us. But Ron is a great guy. In fact, he represents his company represents a product and a concept that I think is critical for all businesses. We all spend money on everything and serve all kinds of services for our businesses. It could be telephone, it could be internet, it could be IT of some sort, and a lot of that we don't have to spend anywhere near as much as we currently spend. And when I met Ron and his cohorts at Schooley Mitchell, I was impressed phenomenally what they're offering. And what they do basically is they come in and look at your expenses and they figure out where they can find ways to save you money. And it's a great opportunity because, most entrepreneurs and business leaders, they don't learn the art of togetherness really well. They're not really good at at thinking outside their own box. And there's so many different ways to save money in all the different products and services that you have. And Schooley Mitchell's already done the work. They've already figured out, what your contract should look like and what your expenses should look like. And so they're the CFO best friend of a company. If a CFO wants to look good and they're not with Ron Moore or Schooley Mitchell, they've lost their mind. But I'll stop yammering. Tell them how wonderful you are, Ron.
Well, Marvin, you didn't leave much for me to say, but I was listening to what all the other panelists said. I just sort of had the picture of an engine that's running, and it's driving all these other parts of the business, which is what these other panelists support. But I have the opportunity to help the engine run better because we work with the fuel. The money that every business runs on, and we help the business, the engine use this fuel more efficiently so that it can provide more services and it's able to drive more, and the business is able to grow. So we look to see what the business is spending. First, we learn how the business does their business. Then we look at what they're spending. And answer the question: what should they be spending for those services? Are they using service? Are they paying for services they don't need? What vendor has the best plan to match their needs? and then we put the two together, and the business saves some money, and hopefully can then invest in these other services that the other panelists are offering, or other things that support their business.
Fantastic. And Ron, how long have you been working with entrepreneurs and businesses total for your whole entire career?
For my whole entire career, well, in a sense, I volunteer with an organization called 40 Plus, which is helping older workers who are between jobs prepare for their next job. I've been doing that 6 years, and one of the possibilities we point people toward is, hey, become an entrepreneur. That's as valid as working for someone else. So I've been volunteering there for 6 years, and I've been doing working with Schoolie Mitchell now for 2 years.
Awesome. And I love 40 Plus. I get a chance to present to them every once in a while, and they actually were the first to introduce me to video presentations. I hadn't done it, and I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't until I first started presenting to 40 Plus, and somebody whipped out a video camera, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm on video now. Oh, what do I felt a little awkward, but once I got into the audience, because I learned to ignore the camera and just enjoy the audience, which it makes a big difference. But thanks so much for bringing me on 40 Plus and introducing that platform to me. I really appreciate that, and what all the work that they do for the unemployed, or there's a term that I learned, the underemployed.
Yeah.
And for 40 plus members, people who are over 40 who are looking to return to the workplace, update their credentials and their service credibility. It's an amazing organization, and they're wonderful at what they do. Hey, Ron, if you don't mind, go ahead and post any information that you want to about 40 plus too in the chat. That way people can get to
Okay,
it.
I will do that.
Okay, and that reminds me, I'm going to bring the panelists back on again. And let's see if we can't organize this in a way that, there we go. Ha 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 ha. They're my people. So good to see you guys. Thank you again for coming on board. As I was speaking earlier, we were talking about the environmental concerns that we all have to have. And I find that there's two approaches to the environment, right? There's the approach that you have from a proactive point of view, where you can get involved and you can do something. You can do something politically, you can do something socially, you can do something about the natural environment, you can do something economically. And that's much easier to wrap our heads around than when the devastation happens that we could never have prepared for, right? Like the pandemic we're in right now. I remember as a financial advisor, I would often tell entrepreneurs and business leaders, what you need to have 6 to 12 months of savings set aside just in case something happens to your business. That was the rule of thumb at that time. That was how we all thought we needed to respond. But guess what my advice would be today? If someone asked me how much of an investment you need to have set aside for your business, or how much credit do you need to have available just in case the worst happens to your business, or all of your creditors or subcontractors called in their credit that you need to have, what would you do then? Because they need their money now because of an emergency or national or international emergency. The world's different. We're moving from a world where we were all individual players, and we're more and more and more international and global. Even the smaller businesses, even the ones that are at home by themselves, they still need to be prepared. So the big questions I have for people is, what is your plan? How are you preparing to engage with those 4 levels of environment, and which ones are affecting you the most? And I asked people to take the poll that I had in the chat, and the poll questions were, which of these environments affect you most right now? What are you more concerned about right now? What are the things that are interesting to you right now? And I'm going to read the polls in terms of what feedback we've gotten from our audience a little later on in the show. But I want to talk to you about each of those 4 levels of environments. The natural environment is what we were given. That is the overall all-encompassing
We might need to add the technical environment to that list.
I think Marvin may be having some audio issues. Are we all able to hear and see each other? Maybe we just continue the conversation until he pops in.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
oh, there we are.
Yeah, I can hear. Well, I can hear you and see you, but I'm with Chantel. We should
Oops.
possibly go on.
Okay. Well, we're still on. One thing that he brought up about just in terms of environment that I wanted to just touch on is that, you know, we are kind of like born into our, but with entrepreneurship, you sort of have to create your environment. It can be a very lonely space if you're out here doing it yourself without a support system. So while our circumstances really make a difference in what we're doing, but also making sure that we're surrounding ourselves with a tribe of support, whether it's coaches, whether it's consultants, but also making sure that you're reaching out so that you don't get stuck in the environment that you're in, but you also create a supportive environment for yourself as well.
And that's critically important. I thank you so much for pitching in, Chanel. You can always tell a leader, you know, from how they act. You know, I told you all earlier, Chanel she's a bad mamma jamma.
Margaret, we added one more to your list of environments. There's the technical environment that your business needs to operate.
Yeah. That, you know what? More and more, that's and this latest faux pas was a good reason to understand why more and more that's an issue. You know, the technical environment, the IT environment, and you know, everything in the Washington metropolitan area, right, is IT security right now. You see that all over the place. It's very, very important. I heard a news report a couple of days ago. Howard University was victim of ransomware.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
How does that happen? You know, you think, you know, a major university wouldn't have a problem like that, right? But they can get you through your IT products, your IT services, and so on and so forth. So that's an environment. That is an environmental concern that we have to be aware of. And luckily for me, I got a backup internet connection, so I was able to come back on to our own call that's still rolling, which is great. Okay, so the couple things I want to share with you that I've been working on. I've taken TrueVOICE and I'm taking a deep dive into the whole program and reconfiguring it in different ways and looking at what is said about the environment and how we are affected by the environment and how the environment affects us. And I want to point out a few things to you all that I think are important. Like I said earlier, there's a natural, the social, the political, and economic, and probably inside the economic bubble, I need to say the IT bubble. But if you think about how all this works, everything fits inside the natural environment. Right? The natural environment is the surrounding conditions in which all things exist, all people and all things. And inside the natural environment, there's a smaller bubble. That's the social environment. That's where we come in, human beings, right? We have immediate physical and social context that we work within with each other. And inside that social bubble is the political environment. The political environment are actions that are taken by organizations, governments, large and small, that affect policy, that drive how we act in the economic environment, which is even smaller. So if you think about the economic environment, these are the factors that affect the buying habits of consumers and the companies and their performances. But none of us can opt out of any of these economic bubbles. Not the economic bubble, not the political bubble, not the social bubble, or the larger natural bubble. They all play with each other and we all play with them. So we're interconnected and there's a synergy there. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that is this. If you think about that synergy between all of the various environments that we have to deal with as business professionals, it would stand to reason that anything that we do in one of those environments is connected to another one of those environments. And a trickle down or bubble effect is readily apparent. You know, when the bubble is burst on the mortgage world, what happens to the rest of the real estate world? There's an effect, right? Hurricane Katrina happens. What happens to the rest of the country? There's an effect. Every time there's an oil spill, there's an effect. And this pandemic has caused an effect that we're probably not going to come back from. You know, we're going to have to deal with the ramifications of the physical, the personal, the technological changes forever now. There's no such thing as going back to where we were before. Now, yeah, we can't open businesses back up. We can be more social, but the technology we've learned now is here to stay. And I don't think we're going to go back. So where do you guys think it's going? I'm going to do some future casting with my panel. All right. Where do you think this technological bubble, so to speak, is leading us in the future? And what do we need to be? What do we need to protect ourselves from, and how? Anybody have any thoughts?
Well, I'll go first. You know, I think first and foremost, in regards to us protecting ourselves in this technological boom that we're having, that's later to come, is first and foremost knowledge and information to how to utilize the technology and understand pretty much the ins and outs of how it works. We all know when it comes to tech, when it comes to anything new, there's a good side and there's a bad side as well. So understanding that, having the knowledge and having a way where we can maneuver so it doesn't necessarily affect us to the degree, whether it's our personal life or business, in that sense, so that we can utilize it and use it to our benefit.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts?
One thing I was thinking is we two areas we need to protect ourselves against, which have been you actually touched on already. The one is the failure of technology, which we saw, you illustrated for us earlier, and also you mentioned how others can use technology against us. So we need to make sure we're protecting. It has to be both an individual effort and a social effort. That everybody builds these protections.
One of the greatest gifts I think we could do for each other as small entrepreneurs, small business entrepreneurs, is to reach out, connect, and be available for one another with our strengths. Depending on what our strengths are, there could be a crisis where our strength would be needed, our talent would be needed to help rescue someone else. And I'm a big believer in sharing my gifts and sharing my talents and making sure that others I deal with understand where those gifts and talents are, so that if they need it, they have an emergency, they have a crisis, they could call on me and I could serve that need happily. Does anybody ever ask you for something, ask you to do something for them that you're not even good at? How's that feel? I can't stand that when that happens, when somebody says to me, I want you to do blah, 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 blah. It's like, have you been listening to me? I don't do that. I don't do any of that. And when somebody that I know asks me to do something or help them with something that's so far out of the scope of what I offer, I just wonder, do you know me? Do you care? Have you been listening? Are you paying attention? And I think that matters. And so we all have to be good at articulating what we bring to the table. What is it that we have to do? I have a program that I call benefits selling, which I teach people, how to stop talking about what you do and start talking about the benefits of
Right.
what you do. Because what you do doesn't really matter to the individuals you do it for. What matters is what they receive as a result of doing what you do. So, Chanel could tell everybody all day, I'm a coach, I'm a coach's coach, I'm a master coach, I help coaches do better with what they do. Okay, but what's the benefit to the coaches? How do they feel when it's all said and done? Do they feel like they've got support? Do they feel like Chanel is the wind beneath their wings? Do they feel like just dealing with her has made such a difference in their life that their confidence is increased, not just their competence? And all of us have that opportunity. We have the opportunity to raise the bar with everybody else, amongst everybody else who says they do the same things that we do, by talking instead about what we do, more than talking about the benefits of what we do, more than exactly what it is that we do. I'm hoping that resonates with some of you guys in the listening audience. So when you think about your environment and what you bring to the table that others could use to help rescue them, what might that be? Go ahead and start posting some information, some stuff in the chat. I know you might have a problem. I heard some people have some problems with YouTube, but no, it's not, because David's posting from YouTube too, and Ronald even posted something in Facebook. So it's working. It's working on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you have a thought that you want to share, go ahead and share it within the chat. What do you bring to the environment? What do you bring to the economic environment? What do you bring to the technological environment? What do you bring to the spiritual environment? What do you bring to the natural environment, the economic environment? What do you bring that's unique, that's special to you? Because it's not your title, it's not your role. It's what people receive as a result of what you bring. And if you can articulate that, then you're going to get to trust a lot faster than if you say, hi, my name is Marvin. I'm a business coach. Okay, who for? Let me give you an example. If somebody asks me what I'm doing and who I'm doing it for, I would quickly say, I help service professionals, mostly people who are licensed and been in business for over 5 years, really ramp up their focus, their energy, and their performance in ways that are so magical they could not believe they've ever done it. And we do it in 4 months or less with a 100% money back guarantee. Now, that is truly what I offer. Focus, energy, and supercharged productivity. So they put their performance at the highest level they've ever been in their entire lives in 4 months or less. I'm so good at it, and I've been so good at it over the years, I now offer 100% money back guarantee, meaning there's no loss for people who play with me because I win. And as a result, they win 100% of the time, all the time. What do you bring to the table? Go for it, Harlan.
Yeah, Marvin, you touched on some great points, and I want to chime in as well. We're in a day and age where the consumer does not want to be sold to, right? They don't want a product and a salesman going up to them and saying, "Hey, I have a phone here. You can make calls. You should buy it." They want an actual experience. So you touched on it earlier in regards to, take pretty much you're pitching in a sense, taking the what I do is what I do for others, right? So that experience that you provide and that relatability is what people are going to be drawn into. You know, I know we spoke earlier when we on the phone and we brought up Nike. Nike never sells. If you pay attention to a Nike commercial, what it does, it sells your experience, and it sells you as in a sense of relatability, right? So I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. God rest his soul, he passed away last year. When they did his last commercial for the sneaker, it wasn't in the sense of what buy a Kobe sneaker because it's Kobe sneaker. The content, what it was what did Kobe mean to you? Which, as an individual for myself, made me go back as a kid and relive those days when Kobe Bryant was playing. So the essence of actually connecting with others, being relatable, and not being a pitchy salesperson as far as selling a product or service. It's the essence is about providing an actual experience to whoever you service.
I look at that, and this is a great question. Thank you so very much for this. Josh just put this out there. He says, I build personal relationships that help people take giant leaps on the path to financial freedom through various financial vehicles. I would just leave off the various financial vehicles and just said financial freedom. I might even leave financial off of it, just say freedom, period. You know, because when you think about it, you don't want to give people trigger words that make them think they know what you do, because in fact they don't. But the brain wants to automatically put you in a box. If you're a marketer or of any kind of profession, and I love this, what Harlan said, I'd be great. I could just say I provide magical experiences for entrepreneurs. Because then the question is, well, how do you do that?
Right.
And now you got engagement going on, right? You have people, really thinking about what it is you just said instead of assuming they know. So when you use certain words as you describe yourself, and that's why articulating your benefits are critically important. Learn how to do that is critically important, because you don't want people to put you in a box that says, well, you're just like every other business coach, or you're just like every other, service professional who says they do what you do. And there's nothing that differentiates you. I say all the time, none of us want to be insignificant. All of us in life want to be meaningful. We want to be relevant, and we want to be significant. And it can't happen if we use communication strategies that are ineffective. It's impossible. Here's another thought and idea from one of our audience members. I don't know who Gamesley is, but Gamesley, if you're out there, tell us who you are and where you're coming from. I see your branding. That's great. What we bring to the table is we offer vision, greatness, experience with all of our products. Okay. I like that. I'm leaning in now. I'm going, well, how do you do that? That's a great way to express, the benefits that you offer. Who doesn't want a vision or greatness experience? Anybody in the panel? Anybody want to experience sadness and misery and pain and suffering? Anybody want that? None of y'all want that? Man, you better see Gamesley, because he's selling the right stuff. Right? I love it. This is Kenya Lewis from LinkedIn. Okay, good to see you, Kenya. Awesome. He's out there. Kenya, in fact, everybody who's in the audience, tell me who you are, where you're from, how you found out about this program. That's going to be exceptionally interesting. And if you have anything to say or anything to share about your business, your phone number, your email address, your ideas, anything like that. All right, I'm going to pick on a couple of our panelists who've been quiet, because I know they got ideas. Go ahead, Morgan.
I'm thinking about a combination of what you said and what Chanel said. I mean, Chanel talked about, this is when you were having technical difficulties, but how important it is, especially if you're an entrepreneur or anyone really, to surround yourself with a support team, because entrepreneurs can be lonely almost in what they're doing, in they're starting something up. And then you were talking about how important it is to let people know who you are and to convey that. But why is that important? What, you know, how can I help you? What's the benefit? I'd like to kind of combine that and say, yes, of course, it's really, really important for me to be able to convey what I do and how I can help you. But on the other flip side of that, if I can't help you, it's so important to surround yourself with people like all of you, or like an organization like PrueVOICE, because our clients are so important to us. And if they come to us with something, hey, I need this, you can't do it, who do you know that can? It's really important, and it makes you look like a rock star if you do have this enormous network behind you. Like, you know what, I know the top tax CPA in the city, let me introduce you. Oh, you don't like that person? I know 5 more. You know, it's very important to grow your network and to be a master networker, like you said, but to really be able to vouch for the people you know. So no matter what, you're like, oh, I know someone for that. I can't help you, that's cool, but here is someone else to help you do X, Y, Z. And that's why I love PrueVOICE so much, because every day I'm getting emails. Hey, Morgan, I'm an M&A attorney and my client is desperate for a bankruptcy attorney. Do you know any? She's looking for someone in California who speaks this language, you know, whatever it may be. I can have 10 names for you in 5 minutes. And that feels really good to save someone time and to give someone a senior level professional and in the drop of a hat. So that's why I love this. And then PrueVOICE is also working very, very hard to kind of work to make the organization itself so much more diverse, with affinity groups, with committees. And I have kind of taken on that challenge as well, in working with a woman who her specific job is to try to get women on paid board seats and in C-suite level positions in their companies. And she is a rock star. And so we're kind of taking on that challenge to grow that percentage of women in PrueVOICE. That's kind of a personal goal of mine. Because how can we be knowledgeable and how can we learn if we don't have the people in the group to learn from? Whether it, you know, whoever it may be, all diversity. It's something that is going really well. But I think that's important. Yeah.
Awesome. I couldn't agree with you more. I always tell, you know, my clients, my friends, every associate that I know, if you do not have an advisory council of your own, then when the you know what hits the fan, and that's what we're talking about today, right? When the you know what hits the fan, and it will, who do you turn to? You know, and I know that, go ahead, Chanel.
No, you bring up a good point just in terms of relationship. And Morgan, you touched on it. But I think sometimes, you know, we have learned during this past, 18 months ongoing, it seems like it's never ending, that technology is a huge tool, a way for us to connect with each other. But I find that sometimes are afraid of the technology because they don't want to be able to turn into a robot, or they feel like the technology or their social media platform or their, being stuck behind a Zoom. And technology is there to streamline our processes and be able to connect each other, but it doesn't replace us with the phone and saying, hey, we met on, LinkedIn, let's schedule a coffee chat. It doesn't replace, still that authenticity. So just in terms of, looking at technology, looking at it from a way that it is designed to enhance our lives, make streamline processes, but still be able to not replace that, voice that we need to still continue to have with each other.
Yeah, I think it's funny that Morgan and I were talking about this earlier, in that, our productivity is up because of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can see more people faster in technology, and we haven't lost steps with authenticity because we're meeting people face to face. Using the technology to see each other And it makes a difference because we can see our body language and we can see our facial expressions and we can see the things that 87% of communication that gets lost on the phone does not get lost in these types of video sessions we're having right now. And so, by the way, I'm going to remind you, though, in your listening audience, if you want to be one of my panelists in the future, make sure you hit me up in the DMs. Make sure you tell me, because this is how we can bring back a lot of the interaction that we lost, but we can make it better because we can be selective and control how we choose and who we go with. My daughter and I, she never makes a phone call today to me. It's Facebook chat. We're doing online communications, and she lives right upstairs. And so that helps me know that there's a whole generation that really could care less about having a cup of coffee. In fact, they drink tea, or something else. It's not coffee. In the old days, all there was coffee. But I think that we've got to challenge ourselves to open ourselves to what's available and not necessarily forget about what's not available. But if we spend that time looking in an optimistic area about where we could go with this, where we could take this, I think a lot more opportunities open up for ourselves internationally. We have people on this call from Illinois. I think I posted it earlier. This is Glassa from Illinois, right? They found us on LinkedIn. Technology. They're engaging in hearing what you all have to say and share. And, it's just amazing, the potential of it all when we're not afraid. Which brings me to 2 points I want to make. The reasons why we're afraid have a lot to do with being alone. And when we're not alone, we don't have to be afraid because we got a team. We have associates. We have friends. And the last point I want to make is human beings. Unfortunately, I got a couple degrees from Kent State University. One of them is in sociology, where I learned human beings are social creatures. Whether we are introverts or extroverts, we are still social creatures, which means we need each other to survive. We certainly need each other to thrive. If we're going to do something about the environment, not one of us can do it by ourselves. We're going to have to organize. We're going to have to team up. We're going to have to agree as a community to recycle, or as a community to keep politicians in office who are trying to flip the whole grid to electric cars versus the combustible engines. We have a choice to make, and it's a we choice. It's not a me choice. I could go out and hug all the trees I want. I don't know how many I'm going to save. I mean, I can only save one if I'm hugging that one. You know what I'm saying? But if we all go out and hug the trees, guess what? A lot less trees get destroyed. People get the message. And so the point is, the more we work together, the more we think about what we bring to the table and how we can use each other's gifts to accomplish great things, the less we have to be concerned about the environment. It's a great example even today. A lost internet feed. Guess what? Chanel stepped right up to the plate. And took the ball to Boston and ran the table. So it was great. And from what I hear, she said some wonderful things. So it's awesome opportunity, right? So I'm glad she was here. Go ahead, Harlan.
Yeah, I like to chime in, Marvin, what you stated. I'm a strong believer that our purpose on earth is to share information with one another, right? Yes, wealth is what we chase. Some people chase power. Some people chase celebrity as far as being exposure. But the essence of life is to share information, whether it is in a micro perspective or a macro perspective. And what I mean by that, whether it's your family, your neighborhood, your community, your town, your state, or your country, or so on. We're here to share. And I think it's important in regards to entrepreneurs to share information. So if Marvin doesn't understand the platform of this technology, let's say social media, because it's evolving every day as it goes, it's up to other individuals to share information and ease that tension that he has in regards to what it is, so that he can utilize it too for his business as well. And you're right, Marvin. We are social individuals. We need others to catapult ourselves to the next step. If you look at all great individuals, they don't do it by themselves. All the entrepreneurs here, here on this call, we're not where we're at today because we did it by ourselves. We might have done a few things by ourselves and slid through the cracks, but in order to reach that mountain, you need others to push you up as well.
So as entrepreneurs, I want us to think about the question I'm posting in the chat right now. And the question is, what are the components of your life that have the largest effect on how you make decisions today? And when I posted this question, the reason why I posted this question is because I believe we all need to think about what are the key things that happen in our lives that give us confidence, and what are the things that bring on anxiety and stress? And how do we decide our way through those things? How do we use our confidence to mitigate the risk of the things that create anxiety and stress? And when we think about these things and we have the language that we need to articulate them to others, others not only see us as authentic, because by the way, someone who has no problems is not authentic, right? Nobody's going to read that as authentic. I remember a time when president was asked, and I won't say which president, but some of you all may know, was asked, well, what do you read? What papers do you read? What newspapers do you read? And the president said, I don't read that stuff. Now, would that give you a level of credibility in what the president may think about, being that they don't take anything that any journalist anywhere ever say, right? Does that mean that president, would you look at that person and go, well, that's a person who's obviously smart or intelligent because they're gathering information? Or would you think, well, not so much? And this is the point, right? Things happen that help you make decisions. When you opt out of things, it's impossible for you to make any decisions that are rational around whatever's going on because you don't have the information. Like Harlan said, if we don't talk to each other, we don't share information back and forth with each other, how is it that we really know anything? Chanel.
Yeah, I just want to add, real quick to this point, because this is a good conversation in terms of, your belief system, your values, but making sure that you're actually sharing that stuff so that you can attract clients and attract a business tribe and a support system that believe in those same sort of things. I have this big belief, as much as we're on social media and as much as I love social media, you have to learn how to get social off of social media. So really taking the time to, share your story, share what you believe in, share what makes you tick. And as you do that, you start to attract clients into your business that believe and have, can resonate with you, but also you build a tribe of people in a business community can support you and believe in those same sort of things.
So I think it's Gaia or Gail. I can't remember the name of the person who posted this, but she agrees with you, or he agrees with you. Yes, those values are important. Spirituality is important. How you share those things is critically important. I think we're often taught, keep that stuff to yourself, right? So when you're having a crisis, you're not supposed to talk about it. which is crazy, because when you're having a crisis, you need to yell to the rafters, I'm having a crisis, so that people can respond and go, oh, wait a minute, let's see what we can do to help you. And I think that, because we're talking about environments right now, right? If you're not out there with who you authentically are, then you can't blame others when they don't trust you, because you haven't given them the information they need to trust you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Because you're not gonna get that. And when people don't trust you, they don't rescue you. You know, it's in our DNA. Back to what I said earlier. It's in our DNA to be meaningful, to be relevant, and to be significant. If somebody comes to us and they don't really need what they think what they're saying they need, then we're not going to feel good about helping them. You know, but if you say, I need this, and I think you can give it to me, or I think you have it, or I think it could work with both of us to share something back and forth. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's what you bring to the table. Then we can decide how we're going to slice the pie up. Then we can decide, how we're going to do things. Now, I know I'm sounding like a socialist, but keep your hats on, folks. None of these labels actually matter. I consider myself a great Christian, and I'm never gonna look down my nose at anybody who's not. Never. And it has nothing to do with me being a great Christian. It just means that that's a value or principle that I won't ignore another human being, especially someone in need. Just not going to do it. So I think that, it's important when we talk about our values and our principles is not to be afraid to talk about our values and our principles, not just what they are, but what they mean to us. The why matters. I talk to young guys like Harlan because I have an affinity for young Black men. I want to make sure that there are some voices in their lives that are not just trying to take from them, but that are trying to contribute to them. And if I can do that, then guess what? My living will not have been in vain. That's important. So if you don't understand that, if you don't do that, I was talking to Morgan the other day, and we're talking about Greek life. What it means to be, a part of that whole experience as a young person. And they put a big premium on social, right? It's a part of the social experience. But I think even more than that, the why in it is that learning how to be with people means that your level of elevation outside of that moment, when you're in college and you're hanging out and you're maybe doing some things you have no business doing, you kind of know what works, what doesn't work, how to approach these situations where people are like standoffish, or how do you deal with those people who are too much or too intrusive? How do you deal with those people? And you got to figure that out. And then you have to be able to tell others, this is how you best deal with me. So if you want the best for me, here's what you need to do for me. And again, if you can't articulate those things, then I think you're playing a game. Let's talk about trust for a second when it comes to the environment and how all this works. Stephen Covey said that trust is built with two things: competence and character. As professionals, we all get enough training on how to talk about our competence. What we don't do is get enough information and training on how to talk about and share our character. Now you can say, anybody was ever a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout on the panel? Okay, so you had oaths and pledges that you had to take, right, to be a part of the Scouts, right? You had to say, I'm thrifty, I'm blah, 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 blah. And you had to say that stuff out loud, but you don't go introduce yourself to people and say, I'm thrifty and kind and wise and smart and talented. That's not what you do, right? So how do people know that you're honest? How do they know that you're truthful? How do you know that you're wise? They have to see you perform or hear how you perform from someone else, or you have to tell them how you performed somewhere else in the past that might allow them to have an understanding of your character. And when they understand your character and your competence, they can trust you. But when they don't understand them both, then the trust you're going to get is limited to what they can see you do right now. So it's critically important. The reason why we put TrueVOICE together, the reason why we talk about this stuff, is for people to be able to articulate both their competence and their character. But more importantly, their character, because, oh my God, we all know how to talk about our competence. Go ahead, Ron.
Actually, I was going to pose a question to you. Would you see one as being more important than the other, or both equal?
Definitely character more important, because we're in such a deficit of how we communicate character right now across the board. Look at the polarization of our whole entire nation. Look at how we treat our elders. You know, we put them out to pasture like they don't matter. and like they have nothing relevant left in the tank, which is, to me, ridiculous. I don't know if you ever tried this. I get in conversations with Walmart greeters all the time. You know, whenever I'm in Walmart, and it's usually an older person or a person with some kind of handicap who's got that job. And I find out that, you know, this person used to be a big time program manager at, 20 years ago in some company, or they used to be a great, technical person over something that we don't do anymore, right? You know, they may have helped create Fortran, but, which is an old computer language that we don't speak anymore. We don't use it, right? But they may have created that, but now they're working at Walmart. That doesn't mean they don't have anything significant to add or anything relevant to add to society. But we've got to get better at paying attention. This is my thought. If we can attend to each other more, we can pay attention. That's a currency. Attention is a currency that we give and share with each other. When we don't pay attention, then we're stealing from one another in a way. Because if I don't tell you you're meaningful, you're special, you're relevant, I love what you did when you said this, I thought that was a wonderful statement that you just made, or a wonderful thing that if I don't tell you, how do you know? And if you don't know, then whatever feelings you have about your performance or whatever you're bringing to the table is skewed with your own brain. That's why I don't believe in hanging out with people who are just like you. What are you going to tell me? Same thing you've been telling me the last 20 years. How am I going to grow with that information? You need new information. That's why you need diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those words mean something, because other people can give you more than you'll ever come up with by yourself. But you got to be willing to engage. I think I saw your hand up, Harlan.
Yeah, you said a very, very powerful quote in regards to being around people, being around other people other than people who are just like you, right? So I'm a strong believer that in order for you to grow, you have to step in different boxes along the way, because you don't necessarily know what you like, you don't necessarily know what you do like, and you want to utilize to see exactly what your skills work in this scenario and this scenario as well too. If I'm staring at the mirror and I'm looking at myself, I already know what I like. I already know what myself is going to tell me. I may not know all the other stuff, all the matter of fact, I might even know all the negative things, but I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to tell myself this. I'm not going to tell my flaws to myself. So so as entrepreneurs or just people in leadership, or just human beings in general, it's you're supposed to have individuals to tell you about yourself and tell people who are different, so that you can basically see kind of a kind of what you can utilize or what you can do, as far as your everyday living. So you touched on a great point.
And this is an incredible point that I think is never too late to learn, understand, or use. Diversity. I used to struggle with this quite, and I'm gonna get personal with you guys in the listening audience. I used to struggle with the value of diversity. I'm like, why would I want to play with people who are different than me? Why wouldn't I just stay with my own tribe? But then as I began to study and educate myself and work with other people to get that education, by the way, I started to learn that, you know what? I don't have all the ideas. And neither does my tribe. Nobody has a lock on ideas. And if you really want to get ideas or figure out what the best might be, you need to be in a position where you can collect them from different people who come from a different perspective in age, in race, in religion, and in culture. And, oh, by the way, this great American experience that we're having might be a reason to promote those kinds of ideas and go, oh, maybe we should be accepting and tolerant of everybody, no matter where they're coming from. Maybe we should. So you think about that, because the value that we now know, without diversity, what we have is, a cesspool of the same. And the good old boys networks continue to do what they've always done, because why change? Why pay women the same thing we pay men? We don't have to. That's no big deal. Why not discriminate against the elderly? They're old. They can't keep up anymore. Why not? It's okay. They won't mind. They're going to be dead soon anyway. Look, this is how we treat people, in our society. And we don't stop until we pay attention. Go for it, Ron.
Yeah, I was just thinking around what you were saying, and it just struck me that when we don't engage with the people who are different from us, we start making assumptions about not only we know they think differently, but we start assuming that we know exactly what they're thinking, and then so our engagement or our lack of engagement is not only we're not just missing that we can grow together and engage, but we're actually driving each other apart, because we start assuming they're conservatives, so must believe this, or they're liberals, so they must believe that, or any number of things.
So there's an environment that I'm fighting with, and that's an environment that is tainted with DNA evidence that would suggest that I'm predisposed for diabetes, I'm predisposed for heart disease, and I'm getting older. And so this is an environmental truth, right? It's a physical truth that I have to deal with. Everybody in my family has had some form of cancer, has had some form of something that we would normally think of as preventable. But now that I have the information education, I got to start to try to figure out how I can reverse that so I don't pass this DNA on to future generations. So I have to put a plan together. So here's my current plan. I've been riding my recumbent bike. You might see it behind me here. I've been riding my recumbent bike every day for the last 7 days. Now, I bought it 5 years ago, but I just decided that it's time for me to actually dust it off, stop using it as a laundry holder, and actually work with it. And over the next month, I'm probably going to ride a couple of bike marathons right here in my own basement. And the whole goal is to reverse the tide of those things. Now, I don't have high blood pressure, I don't have diabetes that I know of right now, but I can tell my metabolism is slowing down. And both of my knees are shot, meaning the surgeons keep wanting to replace my knees because I have no cartilage left. So that's why I have to ride a bike. I can't run. And I love active sports. So it hurts my feelings to not be able to get in the racquetball court and beat around as much as I want to. But the reason why I share this is because this is an authentic environmental thing that's affecting me. And I have to put plans together to mitigate the situation. Because if I don't, the weight's going to catch up. The blood pressure is going to catch up. Diabetes is going to happen. And the cascade of things that go wrong in the system is going to happen. It is the same thing in political systems. It is the same thing in social systems. It's the same thing in economic systems. No matter what systems we're dealing with that are environmental, they work together. And our social system works the same. When we don't figure out how to play with each other, then some part of the system fails. We don't know about it because we're not around. And that becomes blight, so to speak, or neighborhoods that are filled with criminal activity. Because instead of the best people hanging in there with the neighborhood and engaging, they bounce, they leave. Because it's easier to ignore the problem. And I think that's a part of the problem that I think from a political or economic point, social economic point of view, we have to deal with. We can't run from nature. We have to engage. We have to figure out how we can come together, and not one of us is going to save the planet. But one of the things I studied as I was getting ready for this presentation in the book that I'm writing was the understanding that, we're all in this thing together. And so since we're all in this thing together, maybe we can all defend it together. Maybe we can all do something about it together, no matter what it is, whether it's a societal issue, a political issue, an economic issue, a natural issue. But for businesses, business leaders can't afford to ignore any of it. Because we might think that, I don't have to recycle. I don't have to vote. I don't have to, participate and pay my taxes. I'm going to try to figure out ways I can get around that. Because there's loopholes. I'm looking for the loopholes. But all that does is make sure another part of the system doesn't work. And then it affects us all. Every time we find a loophole or we try to opt out, we do damage to ourselves, we do damage to each other and others. So I would implore all of you all to think about that. When you talk to each other about what your needs are, be honest and tell the truth and focus on the things that matter. Because people are going to receive that. Somebody's going to receive it in a way. Like if you have a need, somebody else that you share that need with is going to receive it as an opportunity to share with you. And then your need's going to get met. But if you keep it to yourself, it's impossible for that person to step up. And think about the people in Katrina. There's people who had boats in their backyards. And because they had boats in their backyards, they were able to rescue others who didn't have boats in their backyards. But if they didn't like these people, they didn't trust them, they refused to work with anybody else, those people might not have got rescued. They might not have got saved. And they got to depend on emergency situations that the government was supposed to put together, but was ineffective to actually save them. Does that make sense, guys? So this is happening to me as I'm thinking about this. It happens to all of us, and I think it's important as business professionals that we let go of a couple of assumptions that we were all taught. None of us is a rugged individual who can do it my way. I know we've been taught that. That's the Western thinking, right? We've been taught it's my way or the highway. And that's how it's got to be. We're going to teach that same thing to our kids. Only worry about what's going on right in front of us, the nuclear family, because that's where freedom is. We've been taught that. But the more we do those things, the more isolated we become. The more isolated we become, the less we're going to have the strength of the numbers we need to face the challenges that are coming in front of us. And so I'm not trying to preach today, but I do want us to understand that we can't do it alone. Whatever it is, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, challenge yourself to ask yourself, how can you bring somebody else in? You know, I've done Coffee Tea, You and Me by myself many days. It's so much more fun to do it with you. It means a lot more. I know it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the listening audience. And this is a recording that we'll be able to have and share, and I hope you do, with your friends, your family, and everybody else. You know, when they want to ask you, hey, Harlan, what is it that you do? Saying, watch this tape. I belong to a community of entrepreneurs that stand up for each other. And this is how it looks. Got the rainbow going. You know, we're together, we're strong, right? So you got to think about that. And I didn't do that on purpose. It just kind of how it happened. I love to have some Asian or Latino friends to jump into this pool we got here, but that's okay. We'll get there soon. We'll keep trying, because that's our goal, to get as much and many people to the table as we possibly can who want to save and rescue and help entrepreneurs and business leaders be better. And I thank you all, my panel, for showing up. It is now about 4:30. I don't seem to have any questions from the audience. Let me see. I have some statements, but I don't have any questions. By the way, any panelists have any questions about anything we've discussed, feel free to jump in, or you want to have any last parting words before we close this party up?
A lot of valuable things shared today. I've actually written several of them down, so I don't forget them.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Awesome.
Yeah, Marvin, man, this is a wonderful platform. Thank you for having us here. And I'd like this to say to all the individuals listening, feel free to connect with me, and at least everything that we shared, all the gems that we told today, utilize them.
I have to tell you guys, by the way, all of you are getting some free gifts from me. So I'm going to put them in your email box a little later on. I'm not going to share it with the public. They don't even need to know. That's not for them. It's for you, right? You can get some free goodies from me. But for those of you all interested, I've got a wonderful conference coming up in the near future on October 9th. I'm going to post the information in the chat. That conference it's going to be off the hook. I usually do a quarterly conference, and this one is going to be amazing. I've been leading up to this with all the TrueVOICE information and all the stuff that we've put out, and it's going to be a full day. Everybody who comes is going to get a chance to play with the TrueVOICE process and come out with brilliantly articulated plans where they can talk about whatever it is they need to talk about to win the hearts and minds of the people they need to win the hearts and minds of. So imagine all the people that you'd like to have supporting you. All right. How do you talk to them? When you engage with them, what do you say? You're going to leave equipped with that information so that, people you talk to, you'll be able to say the right things at the right pace, at the right time, with the right reasons, and they'll understand and go, yes, you. I don't know how many of you I would like that. I know I would. I like people saying yes a lot more than I like people saying no. Some people love rejection. I don't know what it is about them. I'm not one of those people. And so if you really want to learn how to engage with your buyers, engage with your suppliers, engage with your clients, advisory council members, whatever it is, in a meaningful, powerful way, this is a conference you want to get in front of. If you're thinking you want to sponsor it, I got opportunities for you. If you're thinking you might want to be an affiliate, I got opportunities for you. This is all about creating relationships and doing it exceptionally well. My name is Coach Powell. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. I know I did. And we will see you on the flip side. For my audience members, for my panelists, I'm going to kick you all backstage. But for my audience members, we're going to be signing off. And so we will see you guys a little bit later. Next week, same bat time, same bat channel. And the broadcast is over.